Hey everyone, welcome back to the third progress update. And in this video I will briefly be going through a review of the previous iteration, so from November to December, and quickly show what I'm hoping to do for the January iteration. And as you may see, it is 2023, so a new year has begun, and let's make 2023 the greatest year this far. At least that's what I will strive to do. And then this development plan and the next iteration is one piece in that puzzle. And so let's dive in. Review of the previous iteration. So I'll just quickly explain the purpose of the previous iteration, and that was to enable me to become a better leader, team member, and professional while leading a balanced life and maintaining good habits around becoming a useful role model along dimensions such as like intellectual, moral, and overall character. And one meta insight I had from the last iteration was I had 6 essential goals and then a bunch of non-essential goals. We can also call them areas, and this was probably too many and it would be good to focus. So that's also something I've implemented in the next iteration that we'll get to in a bit. But I'll just go through the essential areas that I had and highlight a few things where I fell short, but also a few things where I think I succeeded, and hopefully that will be useful and inspiring to you in some shape or form. So one of the areas were to develop a thriving lifestyle in a way that enables me to take care of myself, and overall this definitely still needs work. One sub goal I had related to this was to do a proper shutdown complete before 6 p.m. 5 out of 5 days. And so given that I start at 7:30, I like to do a proper checkout no later than 6. But my tracking was really bad. I basically had did I do a shutdown complete, and then when did I do a shutdown complete? And it was just it was just like difficult to do an aggregate level of this aggregate analysis. So I've updated that, but the overall version is it's hard to analyze the data, but I wasn't that successful in doing so, and I'm not able to quantify it further. Then a second one, sub one here, was to do a masterpiece morning, so do kind of get up at the same time and meditate before I start my day. And I had basically I did that 6 or 7 days per week out of the past 4 to 5 weeks, so this was a huge success. So go me for that. And then given that I also did my yearly review and goal setting because now it's January 7th, 2023, and I'll just quickly show a couple of additional insights from my tracking. So one was that I tracked my well-being, and I used from a scale from 5 to 0, or I should say it's actually 1 to 5. And so in some sense it's my well-being has been pretty solid, so it's very rare that it's less than 4, but I still had some days with 2, and just for reference, like 2, that's where I would have preferred to have been without that day, because I think I significantly fell short of my standards, and we're also just experiencing a lot of unpleasant states. So it's just good to get a high level overview of that data. And I also set some goals and at least some intentions for this coming year in this ballpark. And then I also did something else with my sleep quality, and one thing was I only tracked my sleep for 50% of the days, and I had 16% of those days were low quality, and so I used a subjective scale from like 1 to 2 and 3. And so overall, this area of developing a thriving lifestyle that can maintain thriving and high professional performance, that still needs work. And then the second area that I also had was to become a more professional, reliable, and mindful communicator. And a couple of things here. So I had someone called David. I had him basically monitor me while I do my communication, and also like track how many messages I did during a session. And this was really great, because when I have someone monitoring me, I become a lot more deliberate, and it's as if I'm able to perform better. So David, I was just sharing my screen, and then he was observing what I was doing. So that's great. And something that needs work is I didn't have any weeks with 5 days of 1 hour communication, which was my goal. So that definitely needs work, and something that I want to sharpen for the coming iteration. And I think like the main reason is I didn't fully respect the space in the calendar where I had set aside for communication, and was too readily focused on just doing my own deep work thing. So those are some of the causes. And then another thing that's also worth highlighting here is that I had an intention of reducing it significantly. I think maybe even down to 200 emails, but the emails, they kept piling up, so I still have 150 unread emails. So that still needs work. And then I had a third area was become a better selfless leader and team member. And something that worked really well was I established weekly or bi-weekly check-ins with all of my core collaborators. So go me for that. This is like a non-trivial amount of time, but I think worthwhile. And I also did one quick intuitive check-in on the people that I've been working with, on whether I want to continue working with them or whether it doesn't make sense to continue working with them. And I would like to have a more rigorous way of doing this, but I decided to just use my intuition for now. And then I also did one. This is basically a duplicate. I ran an end of year survey with colleagues where we gave each other high quality feedback. So just quantitatively, we scored each other on like some parameters that we think are important, and then gave in-depth feedback on 3 things that we think we're exceptional at, and 3 things where we think we can become more awesome. And that was really good that we prioritized time for that, and that I've also used that to inform the next iteration of my development plan. Then I guess at this point, a fourth growth area was to maintain deep work, and inspired by Cal Newport. And this went well. So on 4 out of the previous 5 weeks, I scored. I had at least 2 hours of deep work on 5 out of 5 days. So that was in line with my intentions. And then the final one was run effective and reliable meetings combined with lightheartedly serious deadlines. And this was a relatively ill-defined goal. And yeah, I guess like it seems as if it's going well, but it's a bit unclear what I actually meant with it. So yeah, that was just too ambiguous of a goal. So that was a bit about the past iteration of my development plan. Now let's look forward. And so what are some of the things I want to do in January? And the TLDR is that will focus on solidifying 2 areas from the previous iteration, namely the thriving lifestyle and communication, because I think they still need work. And then I want to establish or experiment with 2 additional ones. So let me just quickly go through these 4 growth areas. And the first one, develop this thriving lifestyle. Some concrete sub goals I have for this is, so my sleep has been pretty bad, as you also saw in the aggregate data analysis above. And I want to run an experiment where I both like take quite seriously if my sleep is off for more than 2 days. So in the past I had like a streak of like a couple of weeks, didn't just like, where I didn't intervene, and that was clearly suboptimal. And then I want to do another sleep experiment with where if I think for more than 20 minutes, so a frequent cause is that I like wake up and then I think, and it's not even just it's not even ruminations, it's also being like inspired and just get in work mode, and which is just it's such a false economy, and I don't fully understand why it is that I'm doing it. So now I want to do something where I will review every morning, hey, did I think for more than 4 minutes? If yes, 20 minutes. If yes, then I will pay Ville, my co-founder, $10. And every day I'm successful, I will get 2 hours off during the summer. So, and up to a full week. And I guess there would be so if 4 days of being successful, it would result in 1 day off. And and as you can see, I do have there like some icons here, and this is just, hey, there's like some financial penalty, but then there's also some celebration, and I think those are important mechanisms when wanting to bring about behavioral change. And so that's for sleep. Then I have for number 2, that is, I want to run an experiment with having every Sunday off. So in the past I haven't operated with days off, so now I want to experiment with actually having Sundays off. And there I can like set aside time for like going on dates and or just read in a cafe, but things that I would like to do, and I still have to figure out exactly how I'm going to spend those Sundays, but also be somewhat spontaneous. And then a third sub goal here is to do a proper shutdown complete before 6:30, 4 out of 5 days per week. And I would also want this to so that I will aim for like having 8-hour toggle sessions per day. So in the past I've exceeded this, as you could see from the tracking, but also like my tracking wasn't that good. So this was the thing where it was like ambiguous to what extent I was actually successful. So now I have, hey, did I do shutdown complete before 6:30? Yes, no, and then I can track that instead. And so that's that for this area, which is very important. So one of the 4 areas I will be focusing on this coming month, and then the second one is continue to aspire to become a more reliable and mindful communicator. And so I will have 1 hour with the passive coach 3 out of 5 days per week, because that was something I found that was quite effective. And I want to have a total of 8 hours per week. And then for every day I fall short, then I will pay $10 to Ville, so my co-founder. And every day I'm successful, I will get 2 hours off during the summer, up to 1 full week. So similar to the sleep experiment. And then I've created some guidelines for myself. So I won't attach a penalty or reward to these, but I want to have a 1-day response time for key collaborators. But it's also okay that I just say, hey, get back by X date. So this was also one of the key things I got in my yearly feedback, a way that I could step up my game. And I would like to do that. And then I think another guideline is just operate with 1 day or end of week, or that specify a specific other day. But those are just kind of the two simple things I will be operating with. And then importantly, setting an auto response during crunch time if I know that I'll be unavailable. And have an outcome goal of getting down to 1,000 unread emails. So, boom. So that's the second growth area. And then the third one is basically stable self-worth and assertiveness, and that is this is a very complex thing because it relates to identity, and it's associated with so many different life domains, both personally and professionally. But I want to stabilize my self-worth in something that is and being more at peace with myself and be less, let's say, shaken by people who appear like to be smarter than me or more impactful than me. Just really become more grounded in myself, and just like wanting to serve and be at peace with myself. And it also includes being more expressive with my beliefs and sharing them, while of course being open to updating. And so how did I operationalize this growth area? Well, so one is I want to express my opinion and be more authentic and human. So some feedback I've gotten is that I sometimes tend to be like overly intense, and it's as if it's a little bit difficult to connect with me. But also there are sometimes, from the inside it feels as if, hey, here I wasn't feeling sufficiently at ease and at peace in that situation. So this would include being more vulnerable, but also giving positive and negative feedback immediately. So if there's something, like express if there's something I dislike. And I will primarily be doing this during weekly co-founder check-ins I have with my co-founder, where I will get to that in a bit. But that's one operationalization of this. And then another experiment I want to run is I want to do a more intense and immersive thing with MDMA. So do an MDMA trip together with others, as I've been told that that's something that can be very conducive to feeling connected with oneself, but also importantly with others. And then the fourth and final focus area for January will be my weekly co-founder check-ins. And the purpose of these check-ins will be to explore our individual and collective role fit. So I discovered, when I wanted to get more serious about this development plan, I discovered that it's actually pretty important to have a strong sense of areas of responsibility between Ville and I and other, like a third potential co-founder. And so that's one thing we'll be doing during these check-ins. We'll also be discussing our cost prioritization and have more recurring discussions around that, because that's something that we've been missing. And a third one is to support each other to make the most of the development plan. So you may also have noticed that there were like two of these that had financial penalty associated with them, and that's also going to be we'll be doing some check-in around that, so keeping each other accountable, but also celebrate and reward any progress that we may make, or not may, celebrate and reward progress that we definitely will make. And then the first one is to develop as a team, but also me to develop myself interpersonally. So there you have it. We went through the previous iteration of the development plan, and then focused on the third iteration here with my January goals. And I hope that you found some of these things useful. And I'm looking forward to hearing or seeing how you may implement some of these things in your own life. So let's make 2023 the greatest year this far.